Up bright and early. Good morning and a warm welcome to your perfect day start of the morning brief. I'm Kayode Okikiolu here in Lagos.
And I'm Jeffrey Uzoma. Thank you so much. It's a brand new week for brand new opportunities for everyone out there. 12 days down the line in the month of May. As always, we do our best to keep you updated on what's happening in the polity. Kayode.
Oh, yes. And I think the natural place to start is that I don't know what to describe it as. So let's listen to Governor Siminalayi Fubara, the suspended governor of Rivers State, speaking about his plans, his mindset, whether or not he wants to return to office. Take a listen.
What I need now, even some of you, have you asked yourself, do you think I am even interested in going back there? I want to ask you, don't you see how better I look? Do you think I'm interested in it? If I have my way, I say it's here. This is an order of God. I don't wish going back there. My spirit has left that place long ago. So all this, I want everybody to focus. Please, it's not everything you do. You think there's some fights you don't fight. There's some things you don't do because you need to ask the person. Does he want it? I have peace. If you have known me, you've been seeing me, you can see I look better now. In as much as we have things that we need to do for our state, we know people have made sacrifice for us, and we, one way or the other, have to stand by them. Does not mean that we should start firing without any targets. We need to be focused. Our evening here is about Patlak. It's not Oshobe, it's Fubara, Oshobe, same place. I want that. And like I said, it's about Patlak. Every other thing that is said here, every other admonition by whoever is your personal view. It does not speak or does not present the purpose of this evening. Don't do things because you want to do them. Do the things I want. I am the one wearing the shoes. I know the solution to my problem. I know how to walk through my problem.
So, Jeffrey and viewers, is this the usual political speak? I don't want to go for a second term, for example. I don't even want to be in this office. This office is a lot of work. Say I have gray hair. You hear politicians say that from time to time. So it's important to know where this is coming from. Is this a usual political speak? Is this his mindset really? He probably doesn't plan to go back there and he wants nothing to do with that office. Is there something else playing out behind the scenes, Jeffrey? Have there been some moments of epiphany, some moves, you know, talks about meeting with the president and the statement he released that people should support the president? So these are the issues, Jeffrey. So I lay them before you. Pick as you wish.
As what?
Pick as you wish.
I really don't know what's going on with him. But I like his peaceful disposition. I think that we must give him that credit. For whatever it's worth, he's saying, look, I don't want, there's something called Oshogbe in Port Harcourt, like, it's more like a pre-war song, like a call to wars, that's in that case. I think he's trying to calm nerves, trying to tell everybody, look, I think we've done the best we can, it's now time to give peace a chance. Whether the other camp is listening to this or not, how they will interpret it's a different kettle of fish. So I'm also trying to process, is this another political talk? Political rhetorics just to, you know, say, look, this is not really a big deal for me at the end of the day. But it also speaks to deeper layers of issues as well, as far as the issue of being elected is concerned. This is why we need willing people to occupy office. I'm not saying die hard, because you must separate that. There are people that they rather die than don't occupy the office. We don't need those kind of people. But we also need people that are willingly occupy the office, that on their own volition they came to that office at the end of the day. But what I can take from what he says without trying to read too many meanings, because we're still listening and watching it, is to the effect that he just wants everybody to take it easy. He says he's the one in that situation. So at the end of the day, it is him who understands how he's going to get out of it. We don't know what conversations he's had with the president, with his political godfather. and all of the persons involved in this political shenanigans that led to this emergency rule and its eventual suspension and that of the House of Assembly. But for me, first is the peaceful disposition. Second is the fact that people who are elected must be willing to occupy those offices and do the best. I'm happy in contextualizing. He said, I know people worked to bring me here, so I can't just wake up and say I don't want to be governor again, you know. But on the other hand, he's also saying this is not a do or die affair. So I just want to leave it at the peripheral, you know, surface level. But my brain is thinking things that are deeper, but I need time to get out of it.
Definitely. So we're going to show you our number. You can let us know what you think about this one. Is this going to be like some sort of disappointment to the supporters who have gone all out? Is this like a dampener for them? What do you make of Governor Fubara's statements? You can send it right there to the mail on the screen or the WhatsApp number. But one thing is sure, Jeffrey, it's okay to still refer to him as governor.
No, he's a governor.
Because the court, because, you know, he was trying to also be careful. Like, all of you that have referred to me as governor, you know, understand that, hey, this is my own disposition to all of this. I don't want issues. But the court has not pronounced him or his office illegal.
No, he's still the governor.
Exactly. He's still governor.
He's still the governor.
Still okay to refer to him.
In fact, there is no such thing as suspended governor.
Exactly.
I think we've made our position on the show here quite clear. Whether he's interested in or not is not really our problem. Is that the president must follow the Constitution, and we don't see the president having the power to suspend elected officials. Whether he is interested in it or is none of our business. Even if he's interested or Wike is not interested or he's not interested, it's none of our business. Ours is to make sure that if this is what the law says, it is what it is at the end of the day.
The law is the law.
The law is the law.
I think we could just go right into what the front pages are saying this morning. And we have joining us, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Sam Karbo, who will be walking through these issues. And I'd like to say good morning to you first, Senior Advocate. Perhaps you want to start with this, you know, this issue with the governor, the suspended Sim Fubara of Rivers State. Is always a tricky one, speaking to that. But no court has declared that he's no more governor, so it's okay to refer to him as governor. But I wonder what you make of the Senior Advocate before we get into all the other front pages, which I imagine will also speak to this issue. To that, but no court has declared that he's no more governor, so it's okay to refer to him.
All right, maybe Senior Advocate, you can unmute your device so we can get what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get to the Senior Advocate in a moment, but let's take a look at what the front pages are saying, Jeffrey. And I think we could just start with the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian newspaper is always talking about data, issues of the economy, issues that concern you and I. So you take a look at the Guardian newspaper, you see 2.37 trillion naira data expenses compete with food, others as Nigerians ration usage. So it's about data right now. People don't just watch videos anyhow anymore. People don't download things anyhow anymore.
People don't stream anyhow.
Anyhow, once they see a video is 2 minutes, a lot of people say, you know what, summarize it for me. And there's a lot of AI tools now that I can use to summarize. But that's how the Guardian newspaper leads this morning. And it just gives you a picture of the Minister of Communications, the CEOs of the telco companies in Nigeria. Even the NCC executive is right there on the front page. These are the people who are responsible, who have the responsibility to regulate that sector when it comes to the government side or the private sector side. So that's the lead story for you this morning. But Jeffrey, just to mention, there was a meeting last night.
Yep.
The governor, I was going to say the governor of the FCT. The FCT minister, Nyesom Wike,
I was not there.
joined a PDP governors meeting in what the Guardian describes as a last-ditch effort to save the party. And I think this is the first time I've seen him in a major PDP meeting. We had the governors there. We had the former Senate president and former governor of Kwara State there. Other former governors were also in that meeting. So is this peace in the making, or this is something to suspect as well?
I think I've seen him in one other. There was a meeting they had a long time ago. He's still minister there. He was still minister, and he's still minister. Were joined, but I think from the statement that I read from Bala Mohammed, the governor of Bauchi, he said that the former governors were invited. He came in the capacity of a former governor this time to see what they can do to salvage the situation. And I think the PDP know what their problem is. They should not deceive us or deceive anyone. The PDP knows what the problem is. They know how to solve their problem. So it's a battle of ego. It's a battle of who is willing to make sacrifice. So I'm happy they are meeting, whatever the outcome is, but what they put out to the public is to the effect that they are planning for their NEC meeting so that eventually, let's hope that NEC will hold on May 29th. Senior Advocate, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me this morning.
Fantastic. So we were waiting for you. So we wanted you to comment on the remarks of the governor of Rivers State that is suspended now, Siminala Ifubara, saying, look, those of you who are fighting my cause, I'm not comfortable with the way you're fighting my cause. In fact, are you even asking me whether I'm even interested in going back there? I look healthier, I'm more relaxed now, and all of that. What do you make of it?
Well, I think he's coming to terms with the fact that it is called for him to actually make very serious back-end overtures. Basically, it is my suspicion that people are intervening and people are talking to him, and there could also be intermediaries between him and the federal government and between him and his own godfather. So the disposition you are seeing is that of somebody talking from the background that he needs to make those overtures. He needs to tread the path of peace, because the 6 months, like I had earlier said, it's enough for him to retrace his steps and perhaps make fences or mend fences and rebuild bridges that he might have, what would I call it now, burnt over time. You know, because like you have rightly said, he is still the governor, and he was voted in to preside over the affairs of the state. If by his own action and that of his own adversaries, they put the state to a situation whereby you have a sole administrator presiding over it, he, as the first citizen of the state, has that responsibility to put out himself in a manner that would actually attract peace in the state.
All right, Senior Advocate, let's move on to the next paper. I know we've explored part of The Guardian, but let's move on to the next paper, the Abuja Inquirer. The headlines: inside NUC's Varsity Approval Bazaar. Approves 15 new varsities between 2023 and 2025. That's in 2 years, 50 universities have been approved. ASU Kick says approval political. Minister places 1 year moratorium. So we are still struggling with the quality of education. Is it that universities or tertiary institutions are now becoming very enterprising in that sense? Or what exactly is playing out here? Because even the dons themselves seem not to be agreeing on this, while the people, academics in the NUC may be giving all of this approval. The university lecturers themselves are saying, what exactly is going on? Every lawmaker or every legislator wants to approve an institution for his village or his community, and you're just giving this away. So what do you make of this?
I think it's the ongoing trend of commercializing education. It is very, very difficult for anybody to convince me that that number of universities is meant to augment the public universities. You see, the more you are tended towards privatizing education at that level, the less attention you give to the need for the, what would I call it now, putting the right finances and attending to the problems of tertiary education in the country. You know, it started with primary schools. In our era, there was nothing like private schools. Everybody went through the public schools, and the public schools, as at that time, were very good. Those days, if you went to a private school, you are looked down upon. But today, the reverse is the case. They've destroyed the entire public school system in the primary and in the secondary school. So if you now elevate that malice to the university, I think we should all be concerned. Because at the end of the day, what do we have here? The surrender value, which is to say, what is the quality of education do we have coming out of the universities? Because the private universities are there to capture those who would not be able to pass JAMB. For example, they go to those universities. It's a fallback situation, and most of the time, parents don't have the patience to wait for their children to write the public exams and go to public schools. They go to the private schools, and the private schools, they are there to attract students because they need the numbers for them to get the funds to run their universities. So to me, I do not think that's a good trend. If for anything, that is something we should all be concerned about.
Well, some will tell you that education is pricey, the more the merrier, all of that. But one thing is sure, if education is out of reach for the common man, then well, we have a disaster in the making. But let's go over to Vanguard newspaper. Vanguard newspaper leads with borrowing this time around, and this just ties with the conversation. If education needs more funding, the money we have, how are we using it? Are we devoting it to the right things? And then we go borrowing the more. You see, despite concerns, FG ramps up domestic borrowing to 10.85 trillion naira, shifts borrowing preference to treasury bills amidst high interest rates, deficit to escalate as oil revenue underperforms. Analysis, in fact, it's analysts actually, disagree over impact of GDP rebasing on debt ratio. So it's a page 22 read. There was a talk around the IMF loans being sorted out by the government and all of that. But senior advocate, I'd like you to speak to, some of the things playing out in the PDP as well. We referred to it earlier on. You see 7 PDP governors, Wike ex-governors, others meet on survival. And it's been said time and again that there was enough anti-party activity in the PDP to go round. As a lawyer, because I know you do a lot of dispute resolution out of court settlement, Jeffrey has said that the PDP knows what its problem is, or who the problem is, or problems are. How do you see them resolving this?
It's difficult to say. I agree entirely with that statement that the PDP knows what its problem is and what they are rehearsing out there. Let me tell you as a lawyer what they have done. They have given a good justification for those who have defected, because the law says if the only reason why you are allowed to defect is if your party is in a strife at the center, and this is exactly what they have done. Some smart person might have just coded them to orchestrate this, because I do not think meeting as a body as they have done, because they are not actually part of the structures of the party, the constitutional structures of the party. They know what to do, they know who to meet, they know what body of the party they need to rejig, energize, for you to go around and galvanize support for the party and bring it back to life. Meeting, as they have done, if you ask me, the governors themselves are the problem. They've always been the problem of political parties, because they impose themselves on the party at their own level, and at the end of the day, the wear and tear of that affects the general quality and life of the party.
Well, let's hope that they move forward from this, so it's not one step forward and 10 steps backward. But Senior Advocate of Nigeria, we have to thank you for your insights. It's a good way to start our Monday, put things in perspective. We were speaking with Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Sam Karbo, this morning. Thank you for your time, and wish you a great week, Senior Advocate.
Thank you very much. I also wish you a very great week. You guys are doing a very good job. May God bless you all.
Amen to that. There you go. a look at the front pages, but what is the morning brief without your feedback, without what you've been saying, without what has been making the rounds across social media? And Jeffrey, what a weekend it was. I always speak to the sports people because they usually have their own weekend on the side. It's like people take a break during the weekend for sports and then resume during the weekday. But that's not to say a lot of things didn't quite happen. And I think we should just start off with this video of Anambra State Commissioner for Women Affairs and Social Welfare, Ife Obinabo, calling for help. And it's a very, I don't know, it leaves a very bad taste in the mouth, those call for help, as an 18-year-old boy impregnates a 10-year-old, or 10 girls rather, including his boss's daughter. So let's take a listen, Jeffrey. So that call for help was quite jarring, Jeffrey. 18-year-old, an adult as it is, but this spree of impregnation or impregnating is quite worrisome. So the question is, what is government doing beyond calling for help? I think it's another issue. Why is government calling for help? What kind of help do you need? Do you need help from parents and guardians to ensure that they keep watch over their children? That's understandable. But in terms of taking action, that's government's.
It's very shocking to hear that an 18-year-old boy has this level of strength and expertise to impregnate 10 girls. I don't know what the ages are. Perhaps maybe they are teenagers like him. The word we use on the street is put the children in the family way, because these are children, literally. Yeah. Children giving birth to children in that sense. It just calls to question how we raise kids. So everybody must be called here. The boy has a responsibility. The young ladies also have a responsibility. But how were they raised as by their parents in that sense? I know it can be quite difficult with teenagers at the end of the day. But this is something beyond television. Yeah. It's a backroom conversation. Because 10 children at the age of 18, he doesn't have a bearing for his life yet. He doesn't even know what life is up for him. So, but we will get in touch with the authorities in Anambra State so that we can really understand the back end and the entirety of this story. But it's quite alarming. It is clear that this boy cannot take care of these children. He can't. He's 18. He's learning a trade. He doesn't even know where his life is headed. But anyway, I don't even know what to say. We just pray that there's going to be a way out of this. 10 children at the age of 18 is just not, is irresponsible and reckless.
Absolutely. So what are we feeding our young people with? What are they being fat on, both online and offline? These are the issues we need to come together to speak. But definitely we'll have a conversation with her about this one. But let's talk about the work of the NDLEA. I think NDLEA from time to time makes some shocking discoveries, and you just wonder, how come? I mean, do these things still happen? But apparently, they still do. And we understand that the NDLEA uncovered hidden drug storage inside a fuel tanker. Yeah, that's. I don't know if that's new. I'm not in that sector, but that is just shocking all the way. The uncovering of hidden drug storage inside fuel tanker. We've seen all sorts, inside books, inside bags, inside different things, and people ingest it. But inside a fuel tanker is another level. So how do you go about that? Do you have to scan these tankers, or you just rely on information? Well, kudos to the NDLEA, and you see users saying someone definitely snitched on this. So it's good to have whistleblowers. It's good to also follow intelligence so that these things are caught as they happen. So there you have it, Jeffrey.
Amazing. It's just shocking how far people will go to just push drugs in our country. But we must commend the NDLEA. We had Baba Femi the other day, the PRO of the NDLEA. So you can see there how the NDLEA was able to track this. I think I agree with that somebody snitched. Look at the level of work they put in to push drugs. On one hand, you're carrying I don't know whether the fuel tanker was loaded with that highly inflammable substance called PMS. Anyway, they carried extra goods. So the NDLA was able to track it and pull it out. So that's where they hid it.
So we need to know what will happen to this,
who is the owner of this truck?
Exactly, who's the owner of the truck?
Who is the driver? And all of those are the questions.
It's good to see the videos online, but it's more important to follow through. I love the way the NDLA uses media for all of these things, but it should not stop here. Let us follow the story. Who is responsible? What do you do with the drugs? Let us see what you do with the drugs when you do what the court says you should do with the drugs, or otherwise it's not enough to leave it here. But that's not all, Jeffrey. Another drug bust, an Iran-bound woman was caught with cocaine concealed yet again. So these things still happen. But as we said, it's good to see the bust, but it's more important to see or follow the litigation, the court processes, and the eventual outcome of it.
So that's another bust. This should be at the airports. So since they don't want to give up, the NDLA is also not giving up. As a matter of fact, that's one of the most important agencies of government, in my view, to check all of this trafficking, because a lot of young people are on drugs, and these are the perpetrators, or these are the people that are feeling that space. Okay, let's go to the girls that were trafficked and are being brought back from Abidjan. It's great to see that this effort. I understand the federal government is also doing a lot more to bring more people back, people that are stranded, people that were trafficked. I think this is courtesy of Air Peace, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
So commendation to Alan Oyema, the chairman of Air Peace, and everybody that was involved in this, the government, everybody that was involved in this to rescue these girls. But when we see these videos and some of these things, these successes being recorded in terms of eventual safe repatriation in that sense, we need to ask deeper questions as well as to the state of our economy, why people are so desperate. If you know what it takes to cross the desert, the Sahara Desert, you ask yourself, what is it that somebody's leaving home for that the person will decide to take this level of risk? Yeah. Crossing that desert is 50-50. It's either you die or you live, but people still take. But for some of these guys, a question of they've been deceived. Look at them. Very, very young, some in their mid-20s, some late teens, some maybe early 30s. Some were deceived to go and carry out domestic duties.
Promised jobs in the supermarket.
Promised jobs and all of that. And then eventually they are turned to sex slaves and all kinds of slaves. And beyond these girls, who are those that are perpetrating it? We need to find them.
Those are the real questions. I know that the government had said some of them had been apprehended, so it's important to follow through with this yet again. As there was a lot of fanfare and all with their arrival, which is great, there also needs to be that much spoken about what is being done to prosecute those who are responsible or suspected.
Yeah, which is why I had a conversation on sister program with the Electoral Offences Commission. And my question to the sponsor of the bill, who was kind enough to come on the show, was always, we are tired of small fries being held accountable. Where are the big boys? If electoral malpractice happens, what are the big politicians that are sponsoring it? Yeah. Things like this, we're seeing these girls, innocent girls, trafficked for whatever reason. Where are the big names behind these people? That is how to build confidence in citizens. I think the government needs to take rebuilding confidence seriously. Donald Trump is an ex-convict, because there's a system that works. They found him guilty on 34-count charge, and he was declared convicted. And although I don't know how the American system works anyway, but eventually he became the president of America. But it's an ex-convict. That has not been overturned in any court of law. That can never. Just imagine you're going to arraign Obasanjo or your Goodluck Jonathan or Muhammadu Buhari in court. Just the thought of arraigning them in court, there's going to be a lot of furore and chaos everywhere. So, okay, but on the lighter side, let's go to the brighter side. We talked about the big things. The AMVCA was the weekend, and there were big winners of the night. I was happy to see Femi Adebayo, who gave us a leak into that event. That is movie 7 Doors, and then we invited him and talked to him again. But we're showing you how Nigerians pulled up at that event. killing it.
Well,
look, Met Gala has nothing on us.
Certainly. I think
Met
you
Gala
just have to give it to Nigeria.
Forget Nigerians.
But a lot of questions have been asked because, I mean, this is huge. It's just thinking of the thought process. In fact, I wonder how they were able to get enough designers to pull all these outfits off. Because I imagine you need like hundreds of people working on these outfits all together, maybe even thousands if you put all of the outfits we saw yesterday together. I give an average of maybe 4 people working on each outfit, each major outfit. But the question, Jeffrey, is I'm sure this is they will only wear once, right?
Yes, it's only once.
So what happens afterwards?
No, they archive it. That's how it works. So if you're lucky to be a superstar eventually, icon in that sense, you can open your own a little gallery of all the things you wore at different events. In fact, that's how it works for the Hollywood and the rest of them. But you cannot wear this a second time. This is just showbiz at its best. It's just like what you wear to Met Gala.
I have more questions, Jeffrey.
Yes.
2, I hope we've all paid for these outfits.
So dresses are actually fashion designers. Okay, the red carpet are actually fashion designers' billboard because of the focus for that day. That is how that industry works. So some, they pay for it. Some, the designer will say, look, I need my name out there. All I need for you to do is to put on this. So even when you go to Hollywood, even the juries, for instance, when you see the bodyguard, sometimes they're not guarding the celebrity, they are guarding the jury. Yeah.
I have a few more questions, but I'll ask during the break. But this was beautiful to see. We have to say congratulations to everyone who was nominated. Yes, everyone who won, all the people who did the job. I was at Eco Hotel just that day, actually. Jeffrey, it was a logistical nightmare. You don't even want to go near that place. So it's great to see Nigeria pulling this off. I know we've been comparing this with other award ceremonies, but I think we can learn and know that these things can be done for a global audience. But we'll take a quick break now. When we return, don't forget you can be a part of the show with our lines and email. But we're starting with a very important topic regarding that irregular migration, the gory and horror stories. How can we put an end to it? That's the moment. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Let's talk about some of the things we've highlighted during Trend that has to do with those girls you saw returning back, courtesy of everybody that played a key role in bringing them back to the country because of call it irregular migration or being deceived into better opportunities or greener pasture in that sense, but found out to be a gory, very painful situation, and now they've been rescued in that sense. We're bringing in the CEO, National Commissioner for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons, Mr. Tijani Aliyu Ahmad. He joins us from our Abuja studio. Mr. Ahmad, thank you so much for coming on the program.
You're most welcome. Thank you very much.
Let's begin from the video we saw. I'm sure you were seeing, perhaps we were watching that video, seeing those girls that have been brought back from Côte d'Ivoire. And this is just not too far away African country, even if it's some distance away from here. The desperate situation people find themselves just to get, life better for themselves and their families. But I want your initial comments beyond what we've seen as to the state of those girls as we speak right now.
Thank you very much. You see, what we have always been talking is about this issue of irregular migration. Irregular migration where Nigerians are beginning to leave this country without following due process. And sometimes as they leave, they meet their deaths on the Mediterranean Sea. And sometimes, of course, they play rough roads as they are moving. Once you decided to leave the country in an irregular manner, of course, definitely such a situation will happen, where you will be returned without any dignity or safety. And that's why we have been advocating. And now, as part of our ways of providing advocacy. We have now linked up or tried to link up with some of these universities where you can get some of these young girls and boys who are always willing to leave this country for seeking for greener pasture. Sometimes it doesn't pay. So I think with the inclusion of Nigeria as a member of the Rabat process, where issues concerning migration governance is being discussed, I think to some large extent they will try to solve some of these problems. And we are also calling to parents, members of our Nigerian community to please always provide advocacy, enough advocacy for the movement of our children out of this country. It hasn't been paying well. Within the few months back, we have returned not less than 5,000 Nigerians from Tripoli, Libya, from Sudan, from Niger, from Chad. This is the job that we have been doing for the last 6 months now. I think with the ways and means now that the Commission is trying to follow through advocacy, we hope that this kind of situation will drastically reduce. But we shouldn't forget the fact that why we have this kind of chunk of our Nigerian youth living in this country as either migrants or refugees. Of course, security situations also is part of the causes of these problems. Take, for instance, when we have the Boko Haram, many of our Nigerians left out of this country to the neighboring countries, Niger, Cameroon, Chad. As I'm speaking with you this morning, we have no less than 54,000 Nigerians that are in Cameroon as refugees. And we also have some of them in Chad and Niger. Of course, with the help and assistance and facilitation by His Excellency, the Governor of Borno State, Professor Babagana Zulum, who has been doing the best that he could to ensure that some of these Nigerians that are playing refugees in Cameroon, right, in Chad and in Niger, are returned back to Nigeria.
Well, there's a lot of there's a lot to unpack here, really, and I wanted to find out a step-by-step, analysis of this and who dropped the ball where, so we can diagnose the issues properly. Because I know it's a mix of government and society. Right, so you had these people who heard that there were better job opportunities somewhere else, in this case, Cote d'Ivoire. I've heard that there are some in Burkina Faso, in Mali, even Ghana. So it spreads across, right? So they heard that there's better job opportunities. And these ladies, most of them ladies, said, fine, let's go either work in a supermarket, as some have said, in a restaurant, some on the farms. We've heard things like that. But they go through that process. I don't know what process they go through, but that's why you have government. That's why you have these authorities who go through the papers, go through the documents, go through the employment letters or the employment offer and say, this is legit, this is not, this is a true company, this is not, this is possibly trafficking, this is not. You have authorities there, right? But that didn't quite happen. Maybe it did or it didn't happen. Anyway, they got there. And things changed. Some of them were forced to get married to people they didn't want to get married to, or forced to sleep with people, or the terms were changed. Again, there are authorities there. There are liaison offices of Nigeria in those countries. So when you look at this whole chain, where do you see the ball being dropped? I want us to fix them, or at least speak about fixing them on the show this morning.
Oh, all right, you see, when you talk about this kind of movement, where these young girls and boys are living out of this country in an irregular manner, sometimes it's a result of deceit from individuals within the Nigerian community. They will try to deceive these young individuals to say that there are works in this place and you're going to be paid in some manner. Then these young ones get deceived and they leave the country. As soon as they arrive there, of course, in some cases, the job is not there. is a kind of trafficking, but in a different way, by convincing the younger ones, particularly women. They deceive them and carry them up. And at the same time, after arriving, there's no job there to give them. This is the problem we are facing. Of course, at the time they are leaving, nobody will know where they are going. They are being sponsored by individuals. Because when you look at them, most of them don't have any money to travel even to Lagos, to place of traveling out of the country. But there are individuals. This is their job, and we are trying to trace them. Any moment we get rid of them, I think we'll have a clean slate of movement. But however, sometimes some of these young girls, they are not skilled. So that's why as soon as they get there, they got involved into washing plates, working in the hotels, working in the restaurants. This is the situation. But you know, when you are living, when you don't inform us, when we were not aware of where we are going at the destination, we can't do anything until one situation becomes precarious to them. Then that is when we're beginning to have calls from outside the country to say that you have your Nigerians here in Libya who are living, they don't have where to go, hunger everywhere. Sometimes the IOM, we have to go through the IOM and then beginning to return them back to the country. This is the real situation. But don't forget that apart from this deceit that is being carried out by some individuals to our younger ones, we also have the problem of insecurity that we used to have some few years back, where most of our Nigerians youth live out of this country. Of course, some in search for greener pasture, but some were forcibly out of the country as a result of insecurity. But we thank God now the security situation has now improved, drastically improved. And some of them were beginning to understand that they want to come back to their mother country so that they can stay here and salvage the country together. And that is the process now we are now going into by making requests to the federal government to provide us food funds so that we can return some of these refugees, some of these
so Mr. Ahmed,
who have been stopped out there.
Yeah, Mr. Ahmed, so let me even piggyback on what my colleague Kyle has said, and I don't know whether you really answered the question. So perhaps let me put it differently. Who should be held accountable in this sense? And in answering that question, do we even have enough manpower to be able to do the due diligence we're supposed to do to protect Nigerian citizens? Because most of the time what we see are these girls, you know, videos being sent out either individually or by some good Nigerians who raise alarm that certain people are in certain prisons or they are somewhere held against their will, they would like to come back, and then Nigerian government or private individuals come and rally to bring them back. So we're seeing more of reactions than proactive measures, at least on television. And if something is happening behind the scene, we would like to know. So the question again is, who are we going to hold? Is it that the system is not efficient enough in terms of resources and manpower to be able to check on the welfare of citizens so that these things are reduced to the barest minimum, despite whatever the economic situation is? We're not the only ones who have economic situation. We have people who have economic situations around the world as well. Let's not compare ourselves with the worst scenarios like Somalia and the rest. We are a bit more stable, or a lot more stable, I should say, than some of these other countries. So is it manpower problem? Is it resources problem here?
No. I don't want to believe that it is manpower problem, but it's something to have with belief. No matter what you do, no matter what government provided, there are still people who believe that if they live out of this country, they will live better. So in that situation, there's nothing one can do about it. But the fact still remains that the individuals who became who deceived the youth, I think is where the issue lies. You will convince somebody to tell him that you have a job to provide to him, and he is looking for one. He doesn't have one. Although the government is making effort now to ensure that our Nigerian youth are gainfully employed. But however, there are people who still have the belief in them to say that when they leave this country, one, they are going to earn more than what they are going to earn in this country, forgetting about their safety. So in this kind of situation, there's nothing one can do. Government has been trying its best. There are security agencies all over. In the airport, we have our immigration officers who provide enough checking. But if they checked and you have your paper and you have your this, there's nothing they can do. They have to allow you to move, provided if you don't commit any offense within the period under checking. But as soon as you leave out of this country, of course, we have less thing to do because already they are out there. It was when they get there now, they will find out that what has taken them out of this country is no longer there. So they will now feel that they have been deceived. But in that situation, they cannot bring themselves back home again. Already they are they are already in a precarious situations. And this is the area now will now get information to say that people are there living in Libya or in Niger or in Chad who are out of this country seeking for greener pasture. But as soon as they reach there, the job is no longer there. And they will need to return back home. They don't have money. They don't have food. And this is where we will now come in. Because by the time they are living, we are not aware that as they are living in the city manner. We thought maybe they live in the normal way everybody can travel out in a clear but however, there's nothing we can do because they are already there and they are in a precarious situation. We cannot say we will leave them. We have to find a way of returning them back to the country. And this is the effort the federal government has been making for the past 6 months.
When you say we had to bring them back, maybe you can speak to us about the arrangement with Air Peace, right? Who was responsible for the cost of bringing these girls back? Because from what we've seen time and again, it looks like it's more of public-spirited individuals.
What we are doing...
pardon me. So it looks like it's more public-spirited individuals or, airlines like Air Peace that really bear the main cost. So what role did the federal government play? How much did you pay for their flights? Did you pay Air Peace for this, or it was just solely Air Peace's philanthropic work?
You see, in a situation like this, it's no longer the issue of the federal government funding. But we have our own arrangement with the International Organization for Migration. In most cases, they assist in returning them back to the country. And that's why within the last 6 months, I have told you, we have a lot of returnees through the efforts and assistance by the International Organization for Migration, IOM.
Right. But my question is, for this particular one, clearly the federal government didn't pay for the flights. It was Air Peace. But I want you to add to the response. Perhaps you want to speak to that yet again, if you have another angle to this. So how do we then contextualize the roles of the different agencies? So you have your agency on the one hand, that's the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons, IDPs. There's NAPTIP. The prohibition of trafficking in persons. Yes. There is even the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM. So who does what? What do you do? Where does your work stop? What does NAPTIP do? Where does its work stop? What does NIDCOM do in this context? And where does its work stop?
You see, when it comes the issue of trafficking, of course, it's not the responsibility of the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons. But we provide assistance too. But the lead agency is NAPTIP. So those ones that have been trafficked out of this country, it's not the responsibility of the National Commission to return them, but rather the NAPTIP. And I'm sure this one you are speaking about, the Air Peace, it should be the NAPTIP, not National Commissions for Refugees.
All right, Mr. Ahmad, let's talk about consequence for the people who are pushing this. Just like the NDLA has done their bits, we always refer to them because at least we see those reports and all of that. We're not saying other agencies are not doing anything, but we'd like to know what it's in terms of apprehending these perpetrators in that sense, in terms of prosecution. What can you say about it? What record do you have to maybe share with us just like we've seen in other agencies, so that we know that there's work being done rather than just reacting and reacting and reacting.
No, you see, when you talk about trafficking, it's not our responsibility. Maybe you can discuss that with Adaptive. But we are concerned about refugees, migrants, and internally displaced persons. But when you talk about migrants, people that live out of this country, migrated out of this country, you know, there are so many reasons why people migrate. Of course, I've told you, some looking for greener pasture, and the other ones as a result of being forced out of the country because of insecurity. This is the area, like this one that I'm seeing, I think that is the responsibility of NAPTIP, not the National Commission for Refugees.
No, Mr. Tisha, I understand you perfectly. I know you're in charge of migrants, refugees, and IDP, but I'm sure you're working in collaboration. This is more like when it has finally happened, it's now on your decks to handle. So when you get to that conversation, it's just like, won't you be worried as you're in charge of IDP, and then we have, I don't know how many million IDPs we have, and then this number starts growing exponentially, maybe from 2 million somewhere to 8 million somewhere else. Are you not going to ask questions about what exactly is going on and what conversations are going on to reduce the numbers? Because these are citizens of the country and they have a right to human dignity.
You have reducing the refugees or internally displaced persons?
I'm just using the IDPs as an example in that sense. You know, you cover migrants, refugees, and internally displaced persons. I'm saying we know what causes the issue of IDPs, insecurity. We have an understanding of what causes the issue of migration and refugees. So I'm just saying that in your conversation, you don't work in isolation. What report can you give to us in relation with what you do with NAPTIP as to what measure is being put in place to reduce the burden on you to always have to deal with these issues?
You see, in the issue of reducing the burden, I've told you that we are now in collaboration with some universities, because this issue of going out of this country through irregular means, we need to have to find a way of ensuring that we reduce the issue as practicable as possible. And that's why we engage in collaboration with the National State University, KEFI, on coming up with an institute, because when you want to catch them, you have to catch them young, and to catch them young, you go to the universities where most of these young ones are there. As soon as they completed their studies, they're beginning to living out of this country. So that is why we had to go to the university level in order to provide enough advocacy through the university, through the Center for Studies here in Abuja, to make sure that advocacy is being put into play. Otherwise, most of these our young will not understand if they want to live out of this country for this is how they will go. If you want to go the other way, this is how they should go. But when you talk about trafficking, that is one of the major problems. In trafficking, you might not know who is arranging what until when it happens. Because usually before you get to understand that people are being trafficked, it's only when they reach the destination. It is now, you will now beginning to have calls. But as government, as a representative of government, in liaison with the national, the NAPTIP, the Diaspora Commission, we have been trying to link up with our international partners, particularly the IOM, into ensuring that these people that are being trafficked out of this country, they were returned back to the country.
All right.
When to live and where to go, at that point we may not know.
Okay, Mr. Tijani, I think your point is well noted. We will continue to follow up on this conversation. We just expect government to do more. There's enough technology. There are examples around the world that we can, take a leaf from to do better. But must commend you for the little you've done. Tijani Ali Ahmed is the CEO of the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and Internally Displaced Persons. Thank you, sir, for coming on the program.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get to another very important conversation that has to do with an alarm being raised some time ago about egg donation by university undergraduates, the females, and the danger it portends. Maybe it has become some sort of an industry and a hustle, but we need to talk about its consequences in the long run. Join us again in just a moment.
Well, egg is expensive, whichever way you look at it, whether it's the table egg that you consume or the egg that eventually becomes a child. And there have been lots of negative narrative around that one in recent times. Well, it's been on for a while, really. So today we want to dig deeper into this issue of egg donation and some of the sharp practices that have been identified. What do you need to know about this? What is the right way to go about this? What is the wrong way to go about this? And we have joining us, as you can see, Dr. Joel Akonde, who's an embryologist, a gynecologist, fertility specialist, medical legal consultant, founder CEO of Fertility and Gynecology Center. Good morning, Dr. Akonde. It's good to have you on the program again.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
We've heard we've heard all sorts, let me just say. People selling their eggs for as low as 50,000 naira. I've even heard 20,000 naira in some cases. And I remember that recently, or not too long ago, the House of Representatives mandated one of its committees to investigate fertility clinics and some of these practices. I know there's been some back and forth. The clinics say, well, this is a method that is good to save other people who need help, but still we see and hear some very, very sad tales, particularly young girls, university students, who are sort of coerced into egg donation. So maybe speak to us from the side of a fertility clinic. Is this something you've seen? Is this something you're worried about? And what is the right way to go about it?
Well, the worrying part of the whole event is by unscrupulous, unregistered, or dark practices by individuals and groups of people. Generally speaking, egg donation has helped millions of people worldwide, including Nigeria, women and men, to have children, couples to have their own children who would otherwise have been impossible to have a family of their own. So the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria clearly stated in Section 23 that it is a sound practice, egg donation. Therefore, under the law, it is a sound practice. But when you have situations where it is not properly regulated, like any sections of the humanity, or in particular in Nigeria, you have abuses and situations that we have at hand. It's not, it will not be far-fetched to be seen.
Right. So first, should you be paid for egg donation?
Well, again, deferring to our regulators, the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria, the word donation means it should be a voluntary practice. Donation means you are giving it willingly and voluntarily. You are not under compulsion. Should it be paid for? Well, that is something that you and I can look at it from a practical point of view. These individuals will incur transport, will incur time losses, will incur pain, will incur a little bit of suffering. There is no way anyone can pay for the egg itself. But all these ancillary, beside costs, should be remunerated, should be compensated, and therefore the thing is compensation. It cannot be paid for. The hair that you and I are carrying, the hair on our heads and our body, nobody in the world has been able to make one cell of it. So now the most important part of the humanity, or any organ for that matter, cannot be paid for. Now, having said that, compensation on one part. I've had clients or potential clients who, on the funny part, will say, well, how much are you going to pay? Some will say, in response, I say, how much do you want? He said, I will pay per one egg, I'll take 2 million naira. In fact, of recent, I said, harvest the egg, carry them in a plate and bring them and let's see what. That's on the funny side. But really, frankly, egg cannot be paid for. Nobody can pay for human organs. Nobody has been able to grow one, and it's a compensation.
So let's look at the reason why this came to the fore. And that's internal memo, I think, from University of Ibadan, your university. University of Ibadan,
right.
Raising that concern over girls now looking at it as a side hustle. And they are dissuading them that, look, as much as this is a great thing to do, that you're giving hope to families who may not have been able to have hope through IVF. You're making that dream come true.
That's true.
But you must be cautious. So I want you to speak to the danger of making this a hustle, which is the bone here, which is the main conversation.
The fundamental issue here is the fact that, yes, you can. There are generous people out there. There are altruistic individuals in our community who really wants to add values to their fellow human beings. But really, it should not, again, deferring to regulations, it should not be commercialized. There are sisters who want to pay for their siblings or their family members because of their victims' inability to bear children. On that matter, it is not a commercialized thing. But if you do it regularly on the basis to raise funds for your own socio-economic well-being, you have commercialized it, and that is what we've thrown out. And that is what is the concern of the University of Ibadan by raising that memo, which I have read myself. If you do it on a regular basis, it is not allowed. You are damaging more of your body. There are serious consequences that you will need to consider.
What is regular basis? What's the limit, say, and is there an age bracket in this sense? How many times can a girl donate? When is it excessive? They even listed in part of that memo that there is even the long-term effect of loss of fertility in itself. I want you to dwell on that for a moment.
Right. Now, what is the age limit? Generally speaking, age limit, well, there's no age limit as per if you want to bear children, but there are consequences for delay. Your fertility peaks at around 28, maximum 32. It begins to diminish very rapidly thereafter from 35. So if you are going to donate, at least in our practice and in many, many centers across the world, it is the limit, if you're going to donate, is 28. We do not even want to say 28 anymore, 27. So that is the upper limit. Anything above that, you begin to question. Can it diminish your fertility? Yes, in some respects. And I explain why. The consequences and the dangers of donation are there on one part. But if you have severe damage, you may end up losing your fertility. Let me give you an example. One of my colleagues, staff, was telling me about an experience that she was told some time ago. This girl had just donated, and she was, which will come to as consequences of donation. Then she was ballooning, she was swelling up, and she was having difficulty in managing the consequences of donating eggs. And unfortunately, whoever was in charge of that did not take her seriously. At the end of the day, they went to remove her ovaries. A 25-year-old whose eggs and ovaries has been removed, you have literally rendered that person castrated, infertile for the rest of her life. So infertility can occur if those consequences are not properly managed. And we know they are there, but they are not very common. They are extremely uncommon and not very frequent. It can result in infertility, if I may ask a question, but it's extremely rare, extremely.
So how often should people delay this donate?
Well, as a rule of thumb, what we follow across the world, of which I'm a member, is American Society for Reproductive Medicine, ASRAM, has recommended that 6 times maximum in your lifetime. So how frequent should that be? How much is a piece of string? What is your life span? Now, as I said, you can reproduce up to age of 50, as the case may be, whatever, but your egg diminishes. So if you are going to donate, you have an upper limit of around 28 years old. So if you are donating, that should be 6 within that period and no more. If you are stimulating your egg, in fact, if it's you that is producing the egg for a potential baby, it should not be more than that number that I have just mentioned.
So there's egg donation, and there's also freezing of the egg, right? So egg donation is not necessarily for you as an individual. It's meant to be altruistic, right?
That's right.
By the way, what's the least compensation that someone should be looking at? Is 20,000 naira too small?
That is an abuse in my in my humble opinion. We know the state of our naira, and of course, given this present time, I don't think it should be less than 200,000.
As compensation?
As compensation.
Even though it's a donation?
Even if it's a donation.
Okay.
There's reasons for that.
Yeah.
The agents that organizes these procedures,
donation drive,
the relationship between fertility centers, and they will still have to take their economic cost from the whatever cost it is. So really, as I said, nobody can pay for it, but anything that seems to be too low for common sense, I don't think it is a justifiable and a fair play on the part of the donors.
So you now see why a lot of people see this as an economic, a way out of poverty in that sense. So 6 times 200, that's 1.2 million, right?
That's right.
And they think, okay, you say 6, but me, I can do more. God has given me more eggs. And I know, and that's where you see all of these sharp practices. And I like the fact that you have a legal perspective to medicine as well. And I think that makes you, that gives you a peculiar view to all of this. So maybe we'll talk about stringent enforcement, right? Because sometimes anything goes. After they've done 6 in one place, they go to another area and say, well, I'm starting from the scratch. They do another 6. I realize that because some of these people want money. But the question I wanted to ask, maybe you speak to enforcement, is there is egg donation. There's also the freezing bit of it. And that conversation came up recently yet again. And I want you to just speak to it on the side now. What is your advice to people? What is the best approach? Some say try to freeze it before you're 35 or before you're a certain age. What is acceptable?
Well, as an embryologist myself, I will recommend, from a fertility point of view, that individuals should have their children as soon as possible from age of 18, if it is possible, yes.
What did you say?
From the age of 18.
Are they even 18 years?
18 is matured enough. 20 is reasonable.
No, to be realistic,
20 is
in today's economic 30-year people are still trying to get their feet around. So let's be realistic.
No, you have women who get married early.
Yeah.
Some get married 18.
Biology now.
Okay, yeah. Okay, not economy.
Not economy.
And not morality.
Not morality.
Because someone say you have to be married to engage in such, or at least you have to be in that sense, in that kind of structure.
Yes.
But go on.
And 18 is an adult under the law.
Yes.
And biologically, carrying children at 20 is reasonable and beyond. Now, freezing of an egg comes because of what we have just mentioned, individual disposition, individual circumstances that have made it impossible to get either a partner, career pursuit, one way or the other, treatment for cancer and surgery impending on the ovaries. So many reasons that could potentially impact egg production in the future. For those groups of people, I would say freezing of eggs is a reasonable proposal. If it's a social freezing, it does not make sense.
What is social freezing?
In other words, well, I'm not ready now. I'm still looking for somebody, and when I get a man, I will freeze my egg and we can fertilize it later. My message is that embryos are more stable than eggs. Just like the sperm itself, some of these eggs will die at the time of thawing. You are waking them up, you are defreezing them. They will die, they will not be reasonable. There could be changes. Now, that said, we have records of children that have been had as a result of egg freezing and sperm freezing. So for people and individuals who are facing medical issues, it's a good idea to freeze your eggs and sperms for future use. Otherwise, you might be facing a situation whereby infertility may occur in future.
So there are also people who may have wanted to, but they not realize that in the process. Okay, let's even talk to people who didn't even know what their fertility status is. I think that's another point that people don't highlight. Just like people go for HIV tests, what other tests do we have? Well, a couple of tests that people do. Should we now start telling young people as soon as you're 18 or 20 or so, you should start going for your fertility test in that sense? Because people grew up not knowing these things have happened to them, either male or female. So they get married, they struggle for 5 years, struggle for 10 years, struggle for 15 years. So I want you to speak to that class of people as well.
Well, I've written a couple of books on this, and I'm a strong advocate of knowing thyself. Know yourself, know your partner, know your fertility before you get into it. Know your status before you even try. If you don't, you end up being frustrated. There are tests, that simple tests to do. Ordinarily talking to a doctor, asking questions, being recommended to go carry out certain tests will give you a light, will give you a direction as to your own status. So it is highly recommended, and I will strongly advocate it, that all of us individually and collectively should, before we get into difficult times, make recommendations and go for fertility testings.
Right. I know some of these things can be a bit expensive, depending on what level you're at. But the point is, just try and explore it first so you have a better understanding. And these are some conversations we don't have, maybe because of the cultural context and all of that. But we wanted to have this conversation and speak to what is right and what is not. And we have to thank you so much, Dr. Joel Akonde, embryologist, gynecologist, fertility specialist, medical legal consultant. You also studied law.
I did.
Okay, founder and CEO, Fertility and Gynecologist Center. Thank you so much for your time. You've written 12 published books.
That's correct.
I understand. Thank you for your time,
Thank you
Dr. Akonde. Wish you the very best.
Okay, thank you.
Well, we hope you've gotten some good information to guide your decisions. But we'll take a quick break now. And when we return, there is more for you on the show. So stay with us.
Welcome back. Let's talk to a poet. Oluwaseun Falaye joins us right here in our Lagos studios. Mr. Falaye, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Yeah, good morning, Jeff.
It's been a while we saw a poet in that sense, you know. You guys are a rare breed, but we're happy to see what some of you are now doing. I think in the last 2 years or so, I saw a young lady who, from her poetry, she now does some real big work for brands in that sense. I don't think it was a popular thing. So perhaps it's the direction of content creation. So talk to us about how it is to be successful as a poet before we go to the nitty-gritty.
Poetry is as old as nature conservation and even culture. Even before a lot of the things we know today are being documented, right? Culture is being transmitted via verbal communication, like what we know today as our folklores and all of that. They are being transmitted as verbal communication. And I mean, in that lineage, that is where poetry belongs. And, with poetry, you tend to communicate complex beliefs, complex cultures, complex emotions, basically. You encode them in memorable lines and you transport them. And of course, with the advent of content creation as we have it today, we have spoken words, which, also falls under a certain genre of poetry. And of course, that's good money spinning venture.
Money spinning venture.
Absolutely.
I'm interested in that. You got my attention.
Absolutely.
So
you do well. I mean, you do that well yourself.
thank you very much. But let's talk about the money, right? It's for the good of the economy.
Absolutely.
This is not for any of us, right?
Absolutely.
But when you talk about that bit of it, how can we multiply? How can we 10x it? Because I see a lot of talent. And you said that poetry is as old as nature itself,
Absolutely.
right? And it's amazing how much of talent we have in Nigeria. Maybe it's because of the challenges around us that everybody just becomes a poet, or at least a lot of people are not just poets, but they're very deep.
Absolutely.
You can see that talent. You can see the depth of thought. You're like, this can compete globally, but somehow it's still where it is. So how can we 10x, 20x? Is that something we're missing for you?
You know, as we had today, you will agree with me that the media, right, especially social media as we have it today, is an amplifier.
Yeah.
It's a voice amplifier. Unlike before now, where, I mean, poetry can just be confined to maybe a live audience in terms of performances and all of that. To amplify all of that right now, I mean, with the advent of social media, it amplifies your voice, it widens your reach, widens your audience, and that's where the advantage is. Whatever it is you're doing, as a matter of fact, my published book, If I Were My Country's President, is on Amazon. It's on Amazon. I mean, that's an amplified platform, right? And it means anybody from, I mean, I have even relatives, friends from the US, from Europe that has reached out, that has acquired it, and I mean, the feedback.
And the collections forward was penned by Engineer Benga Daniel, if I'm correct. So I want to have a sneak peek, because everybody always says it, if I were my country's president. What is that about, really? And really, if you were our country's president, what will change? Explain that body of work for us. What are you hoping to trigger or maybe ignite by doing that?
I mean, what you just said reminds me of a conversation I had with a friend just immediately after the book was released. Yeah. He asked me what I would do first if I became the president of Nigeria. And just jokingly, I told him I would ensure a currency parity between the naira and the dollar. And yeah, of course, that was supposed to be a joke. Like we probably had it, the closest we ever had it in the 70s, where it was just maybe... I mean, there was never a time, yeah, in the 80s, as it were, there was never a time that a naira was equal to a dollar, right? Yeah. But then we had it that close. And taking a cue from that, you would agree with me that the mainstay of the economy at the time was agriculture. And at the time, we didn't need to bother too much about Forex. We didn't need to bother too much about foreign reserves and all of that. But that is not the case now. Since oil was discovered, there's been a total shift from that, and we've tend to, I mean, give little or less attention to other parts of the economy that could also grow our foreign exchange base.
I know you've done a lot of commentary on activism, leadership, and all of that. So following on that question of leadership, and I'm happy you mentioned parity with numbers. I'll just share with Kaide data by Statistens that showed that as of 1960, Nigeria's GDP was in the range of $4-point-something billion with our 45 million people, compared to South Korea, which their GDP then was $3-point-something billion. Today, Nigeria's GDP, in terms of value of GDP, is less than $200 billion, at about $182 or so billion, while that of South Korea is about 1.7 trillion by the IMF projection, but practically it's about 1.6 or so trillion. So we can see there is a lot of work to be done in that sense. So my question to you is, when you look at our country and what you do, are you doing enough within your collective to put the powerful to account? Or bring them to account in that sense? Because poets used to be such a powerful force that some of them ended up in prison because of what they just wrote.
Absolutely. Well, that's basically what I try to do with If I Were My Country's President. It's an anthology, right? It speaks to different themes. of social justice, of self-awareness as a nation, of course, holding countries to, holding leadership to accountability. There are diverse topics from a citizen's creed. A citizen's creed explores basically what the average citizen wants. I mean, the average citizen doesn't even want too much from leadership. They just want to be safe. They just want to be able to afford basic things, basic necessities of life, like shelter over their head, security, good motorable roads. Basically to be able to earn a living, as it were. But as we have it today, and there are diverse topics being explored in the collection. There's T-Pain, of course. I'm sure we all. It's a lingo.
I love that your book is up to date. I love that.
Absolutely.
I love that.
We try to do that. We have T-Pain. Well, we all know how that came about, and so yeah, basically what we tried to do. What I also did with that was to. I'm a Nigerian like everybody else, right? So I know what the yearnings, I know what everybody is saying. So we basically just brought all of that together into encoded, memorable lines that would resonate with the people.
You said something very instructive about your book previously, and I know you planned this, what some have described as an ambitious book tour, across Africa. But you said your goal was really about sparking a continent-wide conversation about our shared struggle, and find coordinated solutions. So today you have a conversation making rounds about Burkina Faso de facto leader, Ibrahim Traoré. Some say it is PR, but some say no. They see the way the people seem to love him in the country. There's a lot of positive talk about him. In fact, some have preferred that same solution for other African countries. So whether it is PR, whether it is, it just shows that there is some sort of movement. And we've seen how other countries have also caught that bug in that sense. So when you talk about shared solutions for issues of governance in Nigeria, for citizenship as well, because it would seem some people are saying, well, maybe we should go that way, but we forget that we've gone that route three times or so before. So what would be your final take on that African mindset about what governance should look like? And this talk about Ibrahim Traoré in Burkina Faso.
Quite dicey, right? I'm a fan of democracy, right? So whatever I'm going to say is not necessarily trying to point us in that direction. But you would agree with me that some of the hybrid development you have experienced as a nation came during the military administration. And I cannot remember who used that word. Maybe it was Obasanjo. He came up with the lingo benevolent dictatorship, right? You cannot, if you have, democracy gives room for dissenting opinions, as it were. But then I'm also of the opinion, and that's why a lot of people do not necessarily reconcile with the current administration that, we have the thought of think he's been alienated from the people. But then, understandably, certain tough decisions needs to be taken. And not minding, of course, there are going to be a few casualties here and there. So I basically stay, I'm a fan of democracy.
It's a tough one, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, I want you to do a line for us. Maybe one of your favorite lines from your works, but something, because you have the voice. You have the mind, so boy, it would be remiss of us not to just take a line, something for you, perhaps, from your body of work.
Okay, I might not necessarily run,
definitely.
Run
Just something for us to take over.
Okay,
short and straight.
Absolutely, I'll do something from the Citizen's Creed. The Citizen's Creed, I believe in the morning markets where hopes are not being dashed. I believe my votes should be worth more than their gold. I believe in excuse me, it's not coming now.
Absolutely. Just put you on the spot, so I totally understand.
But
the Citizen's Creed is part of the body of work that is called If I Were My Country's President, and the book is out there. It's great to see what you're doing, and we have to thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'm sure people should go pick it up. Amazon, right?
Yeah, it's on
Fantastic.
And you're more a writer than a performer.
I'm everything. I describe myself as a multi-layered creative.
There you
All
go.
right, fantastic. Oluwaseun Falaye is a poet, writer, and multi-layered creative.
I'm a filmmaker, I'm a journalist.
Okay.
We are going to explore that filmmaker bit. I knew that, but I said let's talk about the issues in the country first.
All right, thank you so much for coming on the program. We appreciate you. Thank you.
I mean, I would hope to be back soon.
Absolutely.
Not a problem. Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll take a quick break now. When we come back, we'll get to some stretch of the conversations we have left on the program. Join us in just a moment. We'll be right back.
Well, this happened exactly 1 month and 3 days ago. Imagine millions in investment, tens of millions, in fact, way more than that in investments just gone up in a smoke. We have joining us Joan Bogu, who is the CEO of Joanswood Creation Limited. She's our guest on this segment of Women in Business. Joan, good morning.
Good morning.
You know, I saw you earlier on and I said, you don't look like what you've been through. It's cliche, but it's, I mean, looking at that, and I saw the breakdown, by the way, and I must say that I saw the breakdown that you did of the costs that this really incurred for you in terms of the plant and machines, the office equipment, the projects. So there were projects that were ready to be delivered right there. The building, the factory itself. And I saw the total. And I said to myself, you don't look like what you've been through. Joan, what happened?
Thank you. Okay, so it was on the 9th of April. I actually had a conference to attend that same day. So my flight was 7 a.m. to Accra. I had this African Women Entrepreneurship Cooperative Conference that I had needed to attend. And so my phone rang. I set my alarm to ring at about 4 a.m. to get ready to go to the airport and all that. And so my phone rang around 2:40. And I thought it was my alarm. I'm like, okay. So this clip was this short. But in trying to, you know, stand up from the bed, I said, no, this is not alarm. And I reached out for my phone, and it was my accountant on the other side of the phone, because normally I have staff that stay within the facility from Mondays to Friday, and they go home by the weekend. So there were people in the factory. And so I just, Madam, the factory is on fire, the factory is on fire. And that was it. And I just, you know, I had just woken up and wore my clothes. I beckoned on my brother who was staying with me, and I just drove down to the factory. It's about 15 minutes drive from my house to the factory. While I was even going to the factory, I could see the flame. And so when they told me, I didn't think it was that serious. I was okay, let me get and see what we can do. But while I was also going, I remember I called my chairman of my estate and I said, okay, this has happened. Please, how do I get fire service? I don't know what the situation. So he gave me a number. I quickly dialed 211, and miraculously, the call went through at one dial. And the lady, because then I was already, you know, crying and all that, like, okay, calm down, what happened? She was trying to get the details and the location. I gave it to her. I said, okay, we're going to send people your way, just calm down. So I hung up and headed to the factory. So I got to the factory, let's say 15 minutes later. I think exactly like 2:55 a.m. I got there. And I remember I saw my cleaner. Madam, I'm so sorry, take heart. I'm like, what? How bad? She said, Madam, everything is gone. Then I was just about walking in. Immediately I walked in, I saw, of course, people were already there trying to quench the fire, but the fire was uncontrollable because we had roots, we had projects, everything there was gone. Inflammable, you know, everything had gone. And I know there was one particular project that I was hoping that I could salvage. So I actually went in there, please, can we get this carriage? She said, Madam, you cannot go in, everything is more. They're practically holding me, you know, and I just stood there. I was wailing, I was crying. I called my friends, I was just calling people. I'm like, this fire service should even come on time and all that. And you know that feeling of just standing and you can't do anything, and everything that you've worked for like 9 years just going into the flames. Wow. It was a terrible one. It was a terrible one. So the fire service people came like 2 hours later. They came at about 4 a.m. Of course, the whole thing was already burnt down. We just had like, so in the building, the factory had burned down. The building where the office too had burnt, but it was remaining where the staff were staying. So they were able to salvage that 2 rooms, but every other thing, you know, went down. Within the space of 2 hours.
So within the space of 2 hours, 9 years of hard work was over?
Everything, including projects that we had. So there was this particular project. We had like 2 projects that were completed. One was already 60% done. And to think that I was actually talking to my team 2 days before the fire, like, maybe we should even get these things to the project site, since everywhere is, you know, we had lots of things everywhere. And in hindsight, I'm just like, God, I couldn't question him, but I did. Like, why did this happen? Like, even if it had needed to happen, why didn't we even, like, some part burn and, you know, just win something?
So that people would appreciate what we're talking about and what you're going through.
Okay.
Because it's just, can only imagine it. It's just difficult to process. Maybe we'll show the people what was the business all about.
Okay.
So what exactly do you do? What are you doing in the shop? So they'll show the video, but you can comment on it.
So we are a wooden furniture manufacturing company. We specialize in making wooden products, cabinetry for bedroom spaces, living room spaces, and also doors. So we serve both individuals and corporate clients, and we are proud to say that our jobs are of great excellence, right? And we ensure that everything we do, all our products, meet the client's needs.
So this is before some of the machines.
Yes, one of the machines. That's the edge binder.
That's the edge binder.
Yes, one of the biggest machines actually.
So what machine is this?
The edge binder.
Okay, this is the edge binder.
Is that the one?
So you see those jobs there? They were actually all burnt. Those doors, those
machines, the jobs, everything.
Everything went down. Then the other side, we had some upholstery work. Everything burnt. This is the extractor.
So what did they say was the cause of the fire? I'm sure the reports are out as to what happened.
Yeah. So from what we gathered, it was a case of negligence on the security personnel, right? So something we were supposed to put out, it didn't. It was, yeah, security personnel negligence that caused the fire.
So what I mean is, it's electrical? Is it what caused the flame in that sense?
Yeah, so a bit, yeah, more like electrical, yeah.
The elephant in the room. By the way, in case you're watching, this is before. Okay, this is what
so that's my office where we had samples.
So all of this was burnt.
Maybe we'll show them
all of
what
this
is
destroyed
going on now.
Am I correct? And I was looking at the breakdown. The office equipment, about 10 million, plants and machines, 28 million, project affected, almost 37 million. You know, all of the other things, totaling almost 100 million naira in the breakdown that you did. And the elephant in the room question, which I imagine you've answered time and again, is insurance first. Was there anything like that? And because this is also a learning, because we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of women in business. So as much as possible, we want to lay the cards on the table. By the way, it's going to get better for you.
Amen.
It's going to definitely get better for you.
Amen.
But let's speak through those questions, because these are questions on the minds of people as well.
Yeah, so there wasn't an insurance, sadly.
So speak to us about how, because this is a month and 3 days after. How are you? I know that's the question we ask generically, and by the way, you might need this, because I noticed that
Thank you.
might just need this. So how are you, Joan, on the one hand? And speak to us about how you're getting by right now.
Okay, so I'm okay. It's a kind of a very tricky process. So some days I'm okay, and some days I'm not. So I'm consciously trying to be okay, right? So because I have people, I have staff members that work with me, and everybody's kind of looking up to me, right? And I have projects to deliver. So I just needed to, with prayers, I just needed to be strong. And one of the things that we've done is I was able to speak to some of my colleagues that are into the same industry, that have factories. And we're able to collaborate, most importantly, to be able to finish those jobs that were affected in the fire. Because after the fire, I reached out to these customers, about 4 of them. And of course, I sent them the videos. This is what has happened. And I was just trying to make them understand that, okay, in spite of this, I'm still, obligated to deliver as promised. But what I wanted to ask from you people is to give us more time so that we can source these materials again and see how we can reproduce this product. So I was able to reach, I think I've made contacts with 2 of my colleagues, and they graciously offer their factory equipment. So I'm left with to kind of rally around to get the materials on how to process this project. And it's not been easy, but I don't know how it's going to happen. I know prayers have gone up, the support, of course, people have, been empathetic, really, really encouraging. But I just know that I'm taking it one day at a time. Okay, I don't know what the end of month is going to be. I still have salaries to pay, right? Because the truth is that those people have been displaced. About 30 member staffs have been displaced. We don't have an office. But God has just made them, despite all, they still come around. There's no space. There's no place to sit down. We particularly just got plastic chairs and made interim table. But they still come around and say, Madam, we're still here with you. This happened to all of us. And that alone is even kind of very encouraging. But in spite of that, I know that I still need to cater for these people. And somehow we still need to rebuild. Yeah, those people have offered me spaces to work, but it's just temporal. We still need to get back. And like I said, it's just one day at a time.
It's a very difficult situation. We must acknowledge and admit that.
Thank you.
So let's talk about, because I'm sure people would like to support you one way or the other. People that are watching, good-spirited Nigerians who have seen what we've shown to them from what it was to what it is. So in terms of the value of what was went up in flames, what's the value, maybe in Naira or dollar terms now, and what is required to restore your business back?
Okay, so we're able to gather this cost total to 90 million Naira. In dollar is about $56,000. And we actually need to leave the space because the landlord has said that we need to leave. And not just leave, we need to rebuild what has burnt. So at this moment, we are looking for a place to lease, right, so that we can actually continue what we've been doing and rebuild, because the truth is that we know we can get this up. We did it from the beginning, and I know we can still do it. So we are looking out to say, okay, every support that we can get, maybe from the government, from Bank of Industry, from industry partners, and even investors that, I think for me, it's a very good time for investors to want to come in. So every support that we can get in one way or the other will be really, really, really appreciated.
Amazing. I love the fact that you're still pushing. You're not letting this set you back. There's a very popular saying where I'm from, and I'm sure they've probably told you time and again, that when a king's house burns, it's actually beauty it brings. It brings up something even much more beautiful. And that's what I just see when I see you and when I see those images. Because for a lot of people, they said you do great work. 9 years.
Yes, we do.
In the business, right? We look forward to what will come out of this, the beauty that will come out of this, and we'll be here to follow your story. But on a final note, perhaps maybe lessons, again, to take away from this. Not regrets, but lessons, because there are other business owners who are watching, and it's important to also form a community, empower each other, learn from each other. What would those lessons be for you?
So there are lots of lessons, right? And beyond the lessons, maybe I should have even said this, I'm also thankful that in all of this fire, no life was lost, right? So that is a very big one that I'm appreciative of God. So basically, lesson, first of it is insurance, right? So the truth was that I actually started the process, but I didn't follow through. So I would admonish every business owner, especially if you own a capital-intensive project like, machineries, please don't hesitate in doing your insurance. Even if it's just one equipment, then you take the second one, third one, it's a no-brainer. We all need insurance for our businesses. And secondly would be, of course, efficient fire safety equipment. So yeah, we had extinguishers, we had TAP, but I believe we had like maybe the industrial fire extinguishers, like something to like 50 or 100 kg. Yeah. Somehow maybe it would have helped, right? And also just ensure that you bring in like a fire safety person to come and peruse your environment and advise you what you need to put in place. I didn't do that. So yeah. I'm in fact, I don't need anybody to tell me the next place I'm going to. Before I even start building anything, I'll bring a fire safety professional to come and advise us on what needs to be done, just in case. And we're not hoping that it will happen again anyway.
Certainly.
But we need to take precautions.
Joan, we have to thank you so much and say we're excited for you, what the future holds. We're speaking with Joan Mbogo, CEO. Joanswood Creation Limited, her place of business went up in smoke, but we're excited that in the coming weeks, months, it'll be back bigger and better.
I'm sure anybody who wants to support you has seen you now, so you could catch up and watch it and reach out to you.
All right.
Thank you so much, Joan. So much. Wish you the best.
Thank you.
Well, we have more for you on the show, and it's time for PC Fix, right? This is a segment where we talk about what's important, really, when it comes to your devices. And as always, Jeffrey, we have our tech advisor.
Yeah, Akin Victoria. Yeah. Akin Victoria joins us. Akin, I don't know where you are. You look like you're now doing artwork.
Yeah, in a palace.
In the palace. But we'll just have a few minutes for the show. So let's get straight to it. What do you have for us today?
Okay, so, our viewers have been sharing feedback to thoughts on the show. So we just want to give light to a few of them, then show, at least answer some of them, address their concerns, and provide more for them. So Father Sonny on Instagram, that was a couple of episodes back where we spoke about blue light and how it affects your sleep, affects your eyes and all of that. I was asking if more apps, because I mentioned that some of these high-end flagship phones have inbuilt blue light filter that you can put on the night mode or the eye comfort shield. So some of the additional apps you can use for phones that don't support it out of the box, you can download these apps shown on the screen, Twilight, S-Filter, Eye Protect Blue, and the rest. These apps will help you to filter blue light from your phone, especially in the evenings, so that you can sleep better. And next, we have a Crown Art TV on YouTube. We had an episode where we spoke about your computers, how to take care of it, heat, can spoil it, don't put it on the mattress, on the pillow, and all of other soft surfaces. So Crown Art TV said his laptop, HP laptop, was not keeps rebooting, and he could not fix it. So he took it to some technicians, and they couldn't do anything. In fact, he accused them of chopping his money, so to speak. So I had to explain to him on YouTube that a number of things that could be wrong if your computer is not turning on, right? Chief of which is the motherboard. Motherboard is this circuit board.
Pardon me to comment. So that question you're speaking to is from Crown Art TV on YouTube, who said that the HP ZBook keeps rebooting, and that is all. They couldn't fix it with engineers. The engineers duped him, in his words, 30,000 naira without anything.
In his words.
Right. So I know you want to defend the legit engineers, naturally. So that's the one you were speaking to, so please go on so people understand.
Because I'm also very wary, so that I'm not waylaid on the road. I'm just choosing my words very carefully. So a number of things could be responsible for your computer not turning on. So the motherboard failure is one, the RAM, power release. There are quite a number of things. However, taking your computer to a qualified technician will be able to pinpoint and not give you the runaround. 1, 2, 3 things. Once something is wrong, there are 1, 2, 3 causative factors. Once you can eliminate those, then your computer should be back to good working order. So yes, I explained to him on YouTube. I just wanted to bring it up for any of our additional viewers that may be having issues with their computers. If your computer is not turning on, please. Not every engineer is an engineer. I would not say more than that. Let's go on to famous Ubowe on YouTube. This was when we were talking about security and two-factor authenticator, second-factor authenticator. On that episode, we delved deep into encryption and a few of other security measures that you can take. So, of course, I just mentioned the Google Authenticator app. So, famous Ubowe was asking for additional apps that you can use to secure your accounts, both your social media accounts, your messaging apps, even your emails or any other online accounts you may have. Apart from your username and password, you need another layer of security. That is where second-factor authenticator comes in. These are just apps that generate random numbers. Most of them are time-based, that after a few seconds they expire, you can't use them again. It just provides an additional layer of security that even when your password gets compromised, these second-factor authenticator apps, the apps are listed on the screen, Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator, and quite a number of them. So please note, if you lose your mobile device where the Authenticator app is on, you will not be able to get access into your account. So what do? Make sure that the Authenticator app can synchronize with your online account, because there's nothing worse than locking yourself out of your house or locking your car key inside the car. That's something that has happened a couple of times.
Okay, Akin, just maybe just go to the last one as we wind down.
Okay, so this was a very heartbreaking one. In February, there was a septuagenarian, Mr. Alasomade from Ekiti. So that episode, we were talking about securing your ATM cards, securing your accounts, and make sure that you don't leave them lying around. So after the show, he gave me a call and said his money was stolen, or he was just seeing debit alerts in December. I said, "Sir, what happened?" So he narrated the whole ordeal. He does not go to the bank. He said the stress is too much, so he just gives his ATM card to some young individuals to go withdraw for him at the point of sale terminal, POS terminal operators. So I told him, well, I can't really speak as to start accusing people without proof. However, he can complain, send an email to CBN, and I know CBN has this robust customer complaints that they actually take up. I've heard one or two individuals actually give good feedback after reaching out to them. Then secondly, bad actors, you can't keep them out. If somebody wants to steal from you, they will go to any length. So your responsibility is to reduce the attack surface. So one thing I told him was, well, at least one of the unofficial now that I do is I don't keep money in the accounts where I use the ATM cards up and down, right? I only move money there.
If you can hear me, Aki. Yeah, I know you want to keep going, but we're totally out of time. But thank you, Aki Bitoi, our tech advisor, for bringing us up to speed with the responses. That's a good one, the feedback people are giving to you. But thank you for coming on the program, for your insight as well on this tech part of the program. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Let's also say that you've listened to Joan with a very, very, very sad story about her business. Literally 2 hours, everything she's built in 9 years gone down the drain. Over maybe almost 100 million, so about 90 million. So you can reach out to us via email. Just go to the morning brief at channelstv.com. The morning brief at channelstv. If you want to reach out to her and all of that. We also see messages from all of you who have sent in your messages. We'll not be able to take them as well. Happiness Chinda, you talked about the political development in Rivers State. We're seeing also, this is coming from Isaac Abo, also talking about, you wonder how public officials will come on screen and be saying what they are saying. That's talk about the migration issue. Priya Owen Fibe, you talked about the egg donation and related issues. So we're seeing your messages. We're not able to have time to take it, but we needed to identify the fact that we've seen them. So to tell you that we're watching closely what you're saying, so you can get in touch with us via that means. If you want to support Joan, well, she's open for that support as well. Thanks for your time and company. I'm Jeffrey Uzoma. Have yourself a beautiful week ahead.
And I'm Kayode Okikulu. Sunrise Daily is next. Don't forget, whatever life throws at you, make the most of it. Goodbye.